This past week, workers at an Apple store in Atlanta became the first of that company's hundreds of stores to petition to unionize. They're part of a growing trend, as David Pogue reports.
The number of Americans who belong to labor unions has been dropping for decades. But suddenly, in the last year or so, the winds have changed. Unionization efforts are underway at tech companies like Apple and Google, media organizations like the New York Times and Condé Nast, and among grad students, delivery drivers, and baristas. Since December, when a Starbucks in Buffalo was the first to vote to unionize, workers at 16 Starbucks stores have followed suit. Yes, they vote one store at a time.
We've had a lot of intimidation and a lot of efforts to stop us, but we're here.
And over 200 more have petitioned to vote. And then, 3 weeks ago, there was the news that stunned the business world about America's second largest employer.
It's Amazon versus the people, and the people have spoken.
JFK 8, a massive Amazon warehouse on Staten Island that employs 8,300 people, voted to unionize.
We want to thank Jeff Bezos for going to space, because when he was up there, we were signing people up.
Weren't there people saying, dude, these efforts never succeed?
Of course, I think everybody wrote us off. Everybody didn't believe that we would even get to an election, let alone win.
Former Amazon worker Chris Smalls led the union drive, but that wasn't his original plan.
Had no intentions on unionizing, just trying to do the right things and protect people from dying from COVID-19.
In March 2020, he'd organized a walkout to protest the lack of face masks and other COVID gear at JFK 8. Amazon fired him, and in a leaked memo, an executive called him, what's that quote?
Not smart or articulate,
He soon learned that he wasn't the only unhappy Amazonian.
They take care of the robots better than humans.
Another Amazon warehouse on Staten Island begins a unionizing vote tomorrow. Workers Brett, Matt, and Martha have been talking to fellow employees out front.
They don't give you ample amount of time to go to the bathroom.
You got people that's barely making enough.
We want to be able to say these things have to change and negotiate that in a contract.
Smalls' strategy to unionize JFK 8 involved a social media campaign and small grassroots gestures, all paid for by donations.
We would feed them, pizza, catered food, soul food, different cultural food. That's what the union represents, is, taking care of one another.
Amazon fought back hard using the standard union-busting playbook. It spent over $4 million on consultants and required every employee to attend anti-union meetings.
They'll say, oh, this organization, they're not going to do anything for you, they're just going to take your money. And by the way, they might make you go on strike. You might not receive any income for that period.
Ruth Milkman is a labor expert and professor at the City University of New York.
It can be very intimidating and very effective.
But not this time.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is you succeeded because you were smart and articulate.
Pretty much.
Amazon declined an interview, but told us in a statement, "We don't think unions are the best answer for our employees. Our focus remains on working directly with our team to continue making Amazon a great place to work." Amazon is also challenging the validity of the JFK 8 vote and points out that it already offers better than average pay and benefits, $15 an hour starting wage, and health insurance. But Ruth Milkman says that it's about more than dollars.
Workers want respect. They want to be treated with dignity. And I think you can see that really clearly in the story at Staten Island. They're treated like machines.
In what ways are these workforces and these unions different from the old union factory efforts?
What's different, I think, is the zeitgeist that especially young workers who've lived through a lot of turmoil, they have these high expectations for what their work life is supposed to be about, and then they can't afford the rents. They might have a lot of student debt. They end up living with their parents. I mean, this is not what they were promised. The pandemic also created a labor shortage, which gave people more leverage and made them less fearful of organizing. Unions are cool again for this generation.
To many of the workers at JFK 8, Chris Smalls is definitely cool. One of them drove by during our interview and expressed his own thoughts on the unionization effort.
What did he say? I won't say that word, but I guess he's pro-union.